Well, how about those Halos? They look really good in the WBC. We're going to talk about the hitters and the pitchers. We're going to ask this question: can Team USA win this whole thing? We hope so. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And John and I thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen every day. All shows are free and available on all platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And you can help us out by giving us a rate and a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click the bell to be notified every time a new episode drops. And today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Pro Baseball GM. Ever dreamed about becoming an MLB GM and managing your own baseball franchise every single night, Jonathan? Then this is the game that's definitely for you. You can download the game by visiting ultimatebaseballgm.com, or you can look it up in the app stores. Our listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when they use the promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, in the game.
Thanks for being here with us for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
It's been an exciting weekend, a little over weekend, actually. We kind of started Thursday with the World Baseball Classic. Of course, we saw Team Japan get started early with Shohei Ohtani, and there's a lot of halos in the WBC. So we felt like it was a good idea to cover just how everybody's done so far. We are still in the pool play, as it was. And pretty soon they'll be out of that. It's getting down to semifinals, and it's getting very exciting, Mike. So I think it's a good idea to just kind of talk about some of the halos in the WBC. And remember, later this week, we are going to be taking your questions for Fan Mail Friday. So if you have any of those, please send those in. You can tweet at us, DM us on Instagram, and we'll get to your questions on Friday. And again, the WBC is in full swing. So let's start with a little check-in of our halos.
All right, sounds good. Now, here's the one thing that we have to caveat, John.
Okay.
I find it really interesting, these first few games and the numbers that are coming out of these first few games, because there are some people that are playing that probably shouldn't be pitching or hitting against some of these pitchers or hitters, right?
Right.
Like, for example, Team Canada against Team USA, this poor kid that was on the mound. Oh my gosh, 19 years old. I felt for him because he got crushed. And then you could tell he felt like he let down Canada, and he felt like he let down his mama. And so it was just, I loved the manager of Team Canada came out, gave him a pep talk and said, bro, it's Mike Trout. It's Mookie Betts. It's Paul Goldschmidt. We all would have done what you did, right? And so
Mike Trout took a walk against him, so no harm, no foul there.
Right. Trouty actually has struggled in his first two games. He had 6 at-bats, just 1 hit, John, 1 run scored, 3 walks, of course, 3 Ks, that 1 stolen base that we talked about on yesterday's show. And his slash line wasn't super fantastic, except for his on-base percentage, which was actually really, really great because he's walking a lot. And then he plays against Team Canada, and he looks like the Mike Trout that everybody has come to know and come to love. And John Smoltz said something on the broadcast last night that I appreciated. He said, these guys just looked a little off. They're not in full season form yet. And so the first 2 games, they're trying to figure out their swing and figure out these pitchers. And Mike Trout figured it out against Team Canada. A home run, multiple RBIs. He drew a couple of walks. But my favorite moment, John, was when he crossed home plate after he hit the home run. And that fist pump, he was so excited to be there and so excited to hit that home run. And this, John, this is why Mike Trout needs to be in big games and needs to be in the playoffs because people get to actually see how incredible he is. He is so endearing, John, that our mutual friend, we have a mutual friend named Devin, who is a Dodgers fan, and he and his wife love the Dodgers, but they both are cheering for Mike Trout because they just love this guy.
Yeah.
And I do too. And it's so awesome to see him being successful, especially against Team Canada. And I hope that he continues just to have a really hot bat. Speaking of hot bats, Shohei Ohtani, John, why don't you share his stats with everybody?
Yeah, well, let me just say about Mike Trout, that home run was like at his knees in the bottom of the strike zone, man, and he crushed it. 3-run bombs. That was awesome to see. But Shohei Ohtani, Mike, has not had a hard time of it in the WBC playing on Team Japan. In fact, check out this line: 12 at bats, 5 runs, 6 hits, 3 doubles, 1 home run, 8 RBIs, 7 walks, 3 strikeouts, 1 stolen base. Listen to this slash line: 417 average, 526 on base percentage, 500 slugging percentage, which adds up to a 1.684 OPS.
Goodness.
Good grief. And then, as if that wasn't enough, of course, he got that first start in the WBC. And in that start, he went 4 innings pitched, 1 hit, no earned runs, 5 strikeouts, a .25 whip, and a .77 batting average against. Shohei hit 100 miles an hour in that start as well. So he had an incredible, he's had an incredible WBC so far. He will be in the semifinals with Japan against Italy, which is going to make for an interesting matchup. We'll talk about it a little bit later.
Yeah. And then one of those pitchers that are on the Angels that aren't good, Patrick Sandoval. He actually pitched really good against that all-star lineup. And we talked about this on Monday, but this is such a good slash line. And he looked really great. 3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 2 Ks, a 1.3 whip, a 182 batting average against. Johnny, he had 8 swings and misses in this game, and he struck out Mike Trout, which you know that he is going to be bragging about that all season long, and he struck out Paul Goldschmidt. Now, Trout did walk later on, which I think Trout was really excited about because I'll tell you, Sandy just looked really, really good. His curve looked good. His slider looked good. He just looks like the guy that we have been expecting him to be, and I can't wait to see him pitch in the regular season. And I'm glad that we at least got past I know they beat us, but I'm glad we got past Mexico, and hopefully we won't have to see Sandoval again because he just looked really, really dominant.
Yeah, and then moving on to David Fletcher, who's playing shortstop for Team Italy. Not great so far. 16 at bats, 1 run, 3 hits, 1 double, 1 walk. It was an intentional walk, by the way.
Yeah, that's interesting,
funny. 3 strikeouts. He's got a 188, 235, 250, and 485 slash line. Now, he did have a very solid defensive play against Chinese Taipei, which Fox Sports MLB tweeted it out and called him Miles Mastrobuoni, which still hasn't been corrected and taken down. It's because Fox Sports MLB hates the Angels.
Shout out to Andrew from Angels Top Plays because Andrew called them out. He's like, dude, that's Fletch. Get it right.
Seriously. So I feel like everybody called them out. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
They just don't like the Angels very much. Now, this is interesting. Luis Rengifo has not gotten into a game for Team Venezuela yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing him get a chance. Gio Urshela, obviously with Team Colombia. He's been okay. 8 at bats, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. I think those numbers updated as of yesterday. And then here's some funny thing. Aaron Loop got onto Team USA because they needed him to step in, and he actually had a clean inning against Mexico, even though Team USA was struggling. There were 2 hits, but he did get 2 Ks and nobody came across. And finally, Mike, this is the one I love, from Venezuela, Jose Quijada throwing the heat, and he couldn't keep his jersey button. So he was just like, forget it. I'm just throwing it. And then he got that big strikeout. So he had 1 innings pitched, 1 hit and 1 strikeout. And he looked like Superman out there, ready to rip off the suit from Clark Kent into the Superman outfit. So he was fired up against the Dominican Republic the other night. That was really cool to see. So, Mike, takeaways from the World Baseball Classic so far. What are your thoughts?
All right, I got 3. Aaron Luke came in for a clean inning. He's used to that. His team is usually down, and he comes in. That's why he was comfortable. That was a shot across the bow. Okay, and I love Jose Quijada's energy. He needs to continue to bring that into the regular season. Here's the biggest takeaway, John. Can Kyle Schwarber play in every game, please? I need him in every game. Why isn't he not in every game? DHing or playing the outfield. That guy is clutch. And we probably wouldn't have struggled against Mexico if he was in the game.
He hit that 3-run bomb against Great Britain the first night. So, he just put Schwarber in. Come on. Hey, coming up on Locked On Angels, can Team USA still win their pool and possibly take it all in the WBC? We're going to talk about it coming up.
On Angels is brought to you by the Ultimate Pro Baseball GM. We're super excited about our new partner and sponsor of today's episode. It's a mobile game, the Ultimate Pro Baseball GM. And of course, we've all dreamed about becoming an MLB GM or managing a professional franchise. Well, this is an opportunity. This game will make your dreams come true. You can manage every strategic aspect of your team. You can play through the season, and you can lead your team to victory. With the Ultimate Baseball GM, you're responsible for the following things: hiring the right coaches and staff, managing the team finances, scouting and drafting players, managing difficult personalities. I love that. Navigating your franchise through free agency and all the ups and downs of the season. All of this is in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Pro Baseball GM is completely free, and it's playable offline, which means that you can play it on the go. You don't need Wi-Fi. You can play when you want. You can play where you want. And Locked On Angel listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when they use this promo code Locked On, all caps. Use that in the game store. So make sure that you download the Ultimate Pro Baseball GM game. You can visit probaseballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up in the App Store. That's probaseballgm.com. The Ultimate Pro Baseball GM. Start your dynasty today.
We want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen today. Now, as we continue our conversation about the World Baseball Classic, there was a lot of talk, especially after the game against Mexico, Mike, and it was all about pitching and the USA's lack thereof. Look, I really like Brady Singer. I think that he is going to be a great pitcher of the future, and he's got a couple years behind him already, and the Royals are really banking on him being somebody special, but that's not who you want to run out in the WBC. You want to see the big stars of baseball, and we've certainly got them on the offensive side, but it seems like the pitching side is a little lackluster, for a lack of a better word, and we discussed this when we first brought up the WBC and talked about hopefully Mike Trout getting a big W in the WBC. And we knew that the pitching was going to be an Achilles heel for this team. So, Mike, there's this tweet from Baseball Doesn't Exist, which is a great YouTube channel, and they tweet out some great stuff. And listen to this list here. He said the top 10 American-born pitchers in the season of 2022. Not one of them is playing in the WBC. And he has a list of 10 pitchers here and their WAR from last season. Let me read these off to you. Dylan Cease ranks number 1 with a 6.4 WAR. Aaron Nola is number 2 with a 6 WAR. Justin Verlander, 5.9 WAR. Max Fried, 5.9 WAR. Alek Manoah, 5.9 WAR. Carlos Rodon, 5.4 WAR. Max Scherzer, 5.2. Zach Gallen, 5.1. Zach Wheeler, 5.1. And Logan Webb of the San Francisco Giants, 4.8. So again, the top 10 American-born pitchers from last season and their WAR, none of them are on Team USA. They're not even in the WBC in general. So there's a severe lack of high-quality pitching, especially for Team USA. Now, on the other hand, the Dominican Republic has 5 of their 10 best pitchers on the roster. Why don't you read those names out?
Yeah, they got a good team. Sandy Alcantara is on there. He's from the Marlins, of course. Christian Javier, Johnny Cueto, Emmanuel Clase?
Mm-hmm.
Clase? Yeah, Emmanuel Clase. I mean, they've got really good pitchers that are on that team.
Felix Bautista, a great closer for the Orioles.
Right. Yeah. And then if you look at the other teams, Puerto Rico has 6 of the top 10 pitchers on their roster that are from Puerto Rico. Colombia, 4 of 5. DR has 5 of 10. Venezuela, 6 of 10. Mexico, 6 of 10. Johnny, is this a problem moving forward? Why do you think that this happened? I know that Clayton Kershaw wasn't able to pitch because of insurance issues. Mm-hmm. I did see this tweet with an interview of Max Scherzer, who said that you can't go from the offseason to a quasi playoff game. It's too hard to do, and you can't do it really well without risking injury. So is this a problem, John, for the future? Do they need to correct this?
Well, I hear Max Scherzer's what he's saying. I hear what Max Scherzer is saying in the sense that he's a pitcher. And I think that physically the game of baseball is going to be a lot more strenuous on pitchers, especially like he said in this playoff atmosphere, right? To go from nothing to kind of ramping up. Now they have things in place. They have restrictions in place. I think 60 pitches is like the limit. And I know that the manager of Team USA, why can't I think of his name right now?
Mark DeRosa.
Mark DeRosa, thank you. I know that he is working under very strict restrictions from all the different teams. Ken Rosenthal had a great article on that on The Athletic on Monday. And so it feels like everybody's got their like systems in place. And then at the same time, Mike, Sandy Alcantara, who is a Cy Young winner, he's out there. Christian Javier, one of the best Astros pitchers, he's out there. Framber Valdez is also out there. So I don't know. I understand there's risk involved, and it makes more sense that that Team USA has great hitters.
You're staying on brand.
I know, right? It makes more sense that Team USA has great hitters and the pitching is kind of lackluster. But I feel like this whole thing could be solved if we didn't play in the middle of spring training. Like, why? What a weird time to play. And I don't know that there's any other time of year that's good to play. Maybe after the World Series, because I know the NFL ended and then something else picked up right after it, right? They were like, there's going to be more football on your TV. And it wasn't NFL, but it was another kind of league.
USFL,
another division. Yes, USFL. Yeah. And I understand that's not as exciting as NFL, but the WBC to some people is not as exciting as the World Series or regular season baseball. I think it's very exciting. If you go and watch the games and you see these fans in the stands, they're going nuts, especially like the fans for Team Japan and Shohei Ohtani going crazy over there. So there's a lot of excitement to be had. I just think it's a terrible time of year to play. I almost feel like for as fast as they're knocking it out within this like 2.5 week stretch in March, couldn't you do that in November before Thanksgiving? Like, couldn't you do this whole thing? And then, if people want to participate, they still can. But I feel like you could get it done by starting early November and going to right before Thanksgiving. But I just think it's a bad time of year for it to take place. But what do you think?
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know if there is another time to do it, because I think that at the end of the year, your guys are pooped. They're tired. They're worn out. I know they're stretched out, so that could be a bonus to them. I think, is it hockey? I think hockey, when the Olympics happen, hockey like takes a break. Like they'll take 2 or 3 weeks off, which maybe needs to happen with the WBC. And if it happens like during the All-Star break, but then I can also see people like, no, we're not giving our players over because we still have a second half.
We're in the middle of a run. Yeah.
And that's why I think they selected when they selected during spring training. And it might just mean that they need to, if they're going to be in the WBC, they need to come in a little bit earlier, maybe January, and start to warm up in January and get ready for the WBC. If it's going to be something that's going to be really prominent and really important, then I think you got to give some time to it. I also think weather's a factor, and what does Miami look like in November, and what does Arizona look like in November versus what it looks like now. And so I know that there's a lot of things
just up in the air. Close up the stadium. Just put the roof on it.
Put the roof on it, right? Like, yeah, come on. The bottom line is that I would love to see more of a star-studded starting pitching staff for Team USA, just simply because what happened against Mexico wouldn't have happened if we had a star-studded pitching staff. Because if you look across the board, these rosters are great. They're filled out with really great players, but what Japan is doing against their pool is what Team USA should be doing against theirs, simply because they have all the stars, and the offense isn't going to struggle. The offense is going to come together. But if you have a starting pitcher that's keeping you in the game, then there's motivation to go out there and do really well. Look at the game against Team Canada. Lance Lynn comes in and mows them down, goes 5 innings. And it was that first inning when it was a quick 1-2-3 that you could tell that these guys were fired up to go and get them some run.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So, there's lots of opinions to be had here. Obviously, it is disappointing that the pitching's not as great, but I think that's why the bats came out for the WBC. I think that they really wanted to stack that team with stars, and the easiest stars to get are the bats, right? The position players. So let us know your thoughts by getting at us on Twitter at Locked On Angels, at Super Halo Bros, or comment below on YouTube and let us know what you're thinking.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The push towards the NBA playoffs is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. You can download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. And then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores to threes made. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss your chance at a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you download FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon right now. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. And you can make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
All right, before we wrap up today's episode, we want to give you guys the insight into what's coming up in the WBC. We want to get you prepared for what you can expect, who's advanced, things like that. So who's advanced so far? Well, let's take a look here. Cuba, who is 2-2, has advanced. Italy, who is also 2-2, has advanced. Japan, who went 4-0, advanced from their pool. And then Australia, 3-1, and we would be remiss if we didn't mention Aaron Whitefield on a Team Australia. So there you go, buddy, moving through. Thursday, Mike, set your alarm at 3 a.m. Pacific time. You've got Japan versus, don't shake your head at me. You've got Japan versus Italy. Shohei Ohtani will start. David Fletcher will be in Italy's lineup, and we'll see David Fletcher versus Shohei Ohtani. That's going to be exciting. So that's what's gone down so far. Now, there is some question about how do teams advance, especially with only 4 games. You end up with a lot of 2-2 teams, right? So we wanted to go over some of the pool play and tie-breaking rules and procedures. So let me get into this here. The first round, the teams in each pool will be ranked according to the percentages of games won in the first round, so their win percentage, essentially. 2 teams with the highest win percentages in each pool will advance to the quarterfinals. If at the end of pool play in round 1 of the tournament, teams within a pool are tied with the same winning percentage, it'll be broken in the following order of priority. Now, here's where it gets interesting because, like I said, you've got a lot of 2-2 teams, but let's just go back and forth here, Mike. The first one is if there's a tie in win percentage, the team that won the games between the teams tied shall be given the higher position. So obviously, if one team beat the other and they end up with a tie record, obviously the win goes to the one that won the game out of the 2 of them. If 3 or more teams, which is kind of what we're starting to see, are tied, and one of those teams won its game against all other teams it is tied with, then they'll be placed at the higher spot. Similarly, if one of those teams lost its games against all the other teams it is tied with, they will be placed in the lowest spot.
Teams tied shall be ranked in the standings according to the lowest quotient of fewest runs allowed divided by the number of defensive outs recorded in the game in that round between the teams tied. Did Manfred write these rules?
It's runs against, right? It's essentially runs against the team. The tied team shall be ranked in the standings according to the lowest quotient of fewest earned runs allowed divided by the number of defensive outs recorded in the games in that round between the teams tied. So again, fewest runs earned against the team, fewest runs against, especially when there's like mercy rules and stuff like that and games are ending early. The tied team shall be ranked in the standings according to the highest batting average. So that's interesting to see. And then the last one, the standings shall be determined by the drawing of lots conducted by the WBCI. Mike, isn't there casting of lots in the Bible, Pastor Mike?
There's got to be, right? Yeah, that sounds very biblical. The bottom line is that if you win, you don't have to worry about any of this.
Right. This is all nonsense.
Win and you're in, and that's what Team USA needs to do. So they're 2-1 overall. They're going to play Colombia on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I will be up for that one, John. And if they win their pool, and it's awesome. But if they don't win, then it could come down to some of these tiebreaker rules. And as convoluted as it sounds, I really hope that they can get that victory against Colombia.
Well, the fact that they lost to Mexico as badly as they did, but then they beat up on Canada the way that they did, it really helps that whole run differential thing until Team Mexico, possibly ties them as well. So it's, like you said, they really have taken this into their own hands. Speaking of Team Mexico, they are 1-1 as of Monday afternoon. They will play today, Tuesday, against Great Britain at 7 p.m. Pacific. And hey, hometown boy, Ukaipa boy, Taiwan Walker.
I love it.
Will start for Team Mexico. Went to high school with that guy. Isn't that crazy?
That's cool.
They'll play Canada on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific. But again, today, 7 p.m., Great Britain.
And then the Dominican Republic, this is the team that was favored to win it all.
Yeah.
And then they were upset by Venezuela on Saturday. So they're 1-1 after their 6-1 win against Nicaragua on Monday. And they play Israel on Tuesday. Israel got perfect gamed. And so that was tough to watch. You can just tell, like, I had my family members were watching with me. They're like, man, they're just not a good team. And I'm like, it's because the guy was a plumber on Sunday and now he's playing first base on Monday. That's why. So they're going to play on Tuesday at 4, and then they're going to play Puerto Rico on Wednesday at 4:00. So all this is exciting. I'm really excited about the WBC. Johnny, give me your final thought on what you've seen so far.
I think that the people who don't know Patrick Sandoval or tweet, look at this guy on Team Venezuela, fired up when he gets a strikeout. I'm like, it's Jose Quijada! He plays on the Angels! Good grief! Or like, this starter on Team Mexico, Patrick Sandoval, he's an Angel! Like, I tweeted from Locked On Angels, I said, keep sleeping on us. Keep on sleeping on us, because when we come steamrolling over your batting order with our stud pitching, you're not even gonna know what hit you. So, Mike, for me, I love that these guys are getting a spotlight, and all the nerds and all the dweebs who keep saying that the Angels don't have any pitching or they don't know who we have on our team, and they sure like to talk a lot of crap on the Angels, but they know nothing about them. You know what? You're about to find out who exactly we are in 2023. So mark it down. What is it? March 14th. John, because Stone Cold John said so.
We got 2 words for you. No.
Yeah.
All right.
Patrick Sandoval.
Yes, there it is. My 2 words are Mike Trout. I want this guy in games that matter, and I want people to see him, and I want him to carry this team. Hitting that home run, I texted my buddy, longtime Locked On Angel listener, Jeremy Copeland. He is at the game with his son, texted him and went, dude. And then he sent me the video.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. And you can hear him going, get up, get up, get up, you know? So I want Mike Trout to get this victory. I want Mike Trout to get this championship. I want him to be in those games, because I'm thinking, like, this is a kind of a quasi Bryce Harper in the World Series moment for him. And I think it could really impact what they do in the regular season. I hope it's Team Japan against Team USA, right? I hope it's Shohei and Mike Trout, and then Mike Trout wins it, and Shohei goes, I want to win, and Trout goes, well, let me show you how. And then they win this year. How about that?
Or Shohei wins it, and he shows Mike Trout how, and they all win. So, but on that note about Shohei, man, he looks dangerous, and I think he's going to have the best 2023 this season. I can't wait to see him in action. Man, can we just start the regular season already? I want to get to it.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen today. Now for your second listen, check out the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast. You can win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every single day, and you can find their podcast wherever you get your podcast and here on YouTube, and they're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Be sure you give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. We love interacting with you there, and if you're on YouTube, best way you can help us out, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and comment below. We love interacting with you. So be sure you leave a comment below the video. Mike, what do we have on deck for Wednesday's show?
Well, we've talked a lot about the Angel players in the WBC. Tomorrow, we're creating the best roster possible for this team in 2023. So here's how we're going to do it. We're asking the question, who should play at each position the most? Who should be there most often? So John and I are going to give some thoughts, and then you can give some thoughts, and we're going to do that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
We hope you'll come back and join us for that one. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we will see you back here for more Locked On Angels tomorrow.